Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some chewy brownie cookies. This is from a recipe that was sent to me by a viewer called Kaz, and it's a very simple recipe. I start off by preheating my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I've got a couple of baking trays lined with silicone mats, or you can use parchment paper. So I'll go on to the ingredients. And for this I have 200 grams, which is 7 ounces, of a dark chocolate. Mine is 72% cocoa solids, which I have just chopped up basically. I have 125 grams, half a cup plus 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter, 150 grams, 3/4 of a cup of caster sugar, 100 grams, half a cup of light brown sugar. That's packed. If you're using cup measures, you pack the light brown sugar into half a cup. I have 2 large eggs, which would be extra large in the USA, and for information, the metric weight of those is 120 grams out of the shell. I have 180 grams, which is 1 cup plus 3 tablespoons of plain flour, and that's based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup. And I have 30 grams, about 3 tablespoons, maybe slightly more, of cocoa powder. I also have 1.5 grams, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to use 50 grams, 1/4 of a cup of dark chocolate chips. These are optional, and you can use more and you can use less, or you can use none at all if you want. And I'm going to stir those in right at the end. So the first thing we need to do is to get our chocolate melted, and I'm going to do that on a bain-marie, but you can do it in the microwave if you want. And the way to do it is to put the chocolate into a bowl with the butter, and in my case I'm then going to stand that on a saucepan of water, but the water must not, when it simmers, must not touch the underside of the bowl. And I'm simply going to put that onto the stove and leave it there to heat until the chocolate and the butter have fully melted. And as that happens, I can go on and work on our eggs with the sugar. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put both my sugars and then the eggs into a large bowl, and I'm going to whisk those. But before I whisk them, I'll just set it to one side so that I can mix my cocoa powder and my salt into my flour. So I put the salt into the flour, and I'm going to sift the cocoa powder, simply because it tends to clump, and this will allow me to break up any little lumps just by pushing that through the sieve. And that's good. So then I'm just going to stir that around to get that mixed into the flour. And that's good enough like that. So then we can whisk our eggs with the sugar, and I want to whisk these for 5 or 6 minutes until they're nice and pale and they've thickened. So I've mixed my eggs with the 2 sugars for about 5 minutes, and my chocolate and butter has now melted, as you can see. So I'm going to pick that up, and I'm going to drizzle it slowly into the egg mixture, whisking slowly all the time, or whisking all the time, should I say. So with the chocolate and the butter mixed through, I'm going to add in my flour, cocoa powder and salt, and I'm going to whisk that on a low speed until that's just about combined. And I can use my spatula to fold that in as well. And that's almost mixed in. So then I'm going to sprinkle over my few chocolate chips, and I'm going to simply fold that in, incorporating any flour and cocoa that's not been folded in yet. And then I just need to spoon that onto my baking trays. And I estimate that about 70 grams of batter will give me about 13 cookies. And you can spoon these on, but I'm just using an ice cream scoop because it's easier. So there I have 10, and I'm going to put those into the oven, and I'm going to bake them for between 10 and 12 minutes until they've spread out and they've baked through and they look quite cooked through, but they will be very, very soft. So I'll take them out of the oven and leave them on the trays until they've cooled a little bit before I can carefully transfer them to a wire rack. And once I've done that, I'll bake the others. And when they're all completely cooled down, I'll come back and we'll have a taste. I baked the Chewy Brownie cookies for 12 minutes and they baked up quite nicely. They spread just a little bit, cracked on the top as I suspected they ought to, and they did look quite good. So I left them for about 10 minutes on the trays and then I transferred them to a wire rack. And they've now cooled down completely, so I'll show you what they look like. As I say, they baked up quite nicely, and I've broken one in half so you can see inside as well. And I'll have a taste of this piece. It is very, very good. Nice and moist and chewy. They've got the chocolate chip in that little piece as well, which adds to the texture, basically. Very chocolatey and very much like a brownie, and so simple to make. Now I should say you can make them whichever size you want, basically. I used about 70 grams per cookie for mine, but you could make them smaller if you wanted to. That would be perfectly fine. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. I thank Kaz for sending me this recipe, and I'll be back with another one in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.